Hello, and welcome to today's episode. If you've already heard the intro to the Proverbs, then just skip ahead about 8 minutes or so. Otherwise, the Bible is referred to as the living Word of God. It isn't a book that is meant simply to be read. It is a perspective-altering substance that is meant to be ingested and absorbed into you. And when it becomes a part of you, it changes you. And that is exactly what it is supposed to do. A proverb is an illustrated piece of wisdom. But the funny thing about wisdom is that it can seem so obvious that it is easy to believe that it didn't actually need to be said at all. That is only because you have already been exposed to it by that point. If you just stop and look around at the people who haven't heard it yet, it doesn't exactly seem obvious to them. That is the impressive nature of wisdom. Like a brilliant piece of music, you sense where it is going. But that doesn't actually mean that you could have composed it. Its genius is in allowing the recipient to organically feel as though this amazing thing originated within them, kind of like the movie Inception. This is my own translated paraphrase of the Proverbs, which were originally written by Solomon. And just to quickly summarize, the focus of a translation is on the detailed accuracy of each individual word. But sometimes the broader picture is not conveyed very clearly as a result. The focus of a paraphrase is on painting that big picture, but it often loses the accuracy of the finer details. Both of these are useful as long as you understand which is which and what the disadvantages to each approach are. So it should be noted that any paraphrase is an individual's interpretation of the underlying idea. So a paraphrase is a lot more subjective than a translation is, and that makes it much more susceptible to interpretations that are way off the mark of the original intent. That is why I recommend at least using both an accurate translation, like the New American Standard, and a responsible paraphrase. But I would be leaving you exposed if I didn't warn you to beware of the irresponsible paraphrases out there, the ones that masquerade as the Word of God, with subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, differences to what is actually being said. One of Satan's favorite tricks in the Bible when it comes to weaponizing Scripture, ironically enough. To provide a brief example for you, if I were to read a verse from the Psalms that described the kind of daughter that everyone would hope for as being a strong, beautifully carved, polished pillar that holds up a palace temple, but the paraphrase told you that an admirable daughter is actually like a wildflower in the fields, that is not a paraphrase. That is making up your own ideas and selling them as the Word of God, even though that is not what He said. Likewise, if I read a verse to you that described godly people taking a sword into their hand to execute justice in the land of ancient Israel, and the paraphrase tells you that those godly people did a sword dance to performatively demonstrate justice. That is not what the real text says. That is a very different rewrite, and one that is no longer being honest with its readers. If another passage describes someone being beaten up, specifically being punched in the mouth, and a paraphrase says that he was gagged, those are not actually the same thing. Just ask anyone who has ever been beaten up. That is not a paraphrase. That is someone overstepping and arrogantly trying to polish up God's embarrassing edges for him in order to make him as presentable as their beliefs are. Once anyone feels entitled to do that with the Word of God, they are actually just writing the word of Billy Bob, while also hijacking some undue legitimacy for their own ideas by calling their own ideas the Word of God, which comes across as being much more impressive than the truth about their own very human words. But impressive sounding or not, that is no more honest than Hannibal Lecter wearing around the security guard's face. Now, to be entirely upfront and responsible with you, having already worked through the Psalms, you should know that my method through the first half of that book was a strict paraphrase. It was based entirely on compiling other English translations and paraphrases and interpreting them together as best I could. And as a result, there were places where I got way off the mark. By the third quarter of the Psalms, I was looking at some of the main words in the original Hebrew and continuing to heavily paraphrase the rest. By the last quarter of that book, I was translating all of the words and then paraphrasing what I had found as honestly as I could, based on the truest translation that I could create from my understanding of the original Hebrew words. But the final point that I want to make clear is that everything loses something in translation. You often have to choose between picking a word that overlaps more than any other single word would, while sacrificing the rest of the picture, or you end up with an extremely wordy translation that doesn't flow as well as it does in the original. That trade-off is clearly not for everyone. But the truth is that there are already so many paraphrases out there for the people who want the filtered, boiled-down, concentrated version of the Bible that it doesn't make sense for me to choose that as my priority here. And I am not denying that concise simplicity has amazing utility. It certainly does. And if that is what you are looking for right now, then there are already several versions out there to suit your preferred purpose in this moment. For the other people who want a deeper dive and a wider perspective to draw from as they try to understand the scriptures more fully, some amount of crisp directness will have to be sacrificed in exchange for seeing the broader web of context. But hopefully, this attempt to contribute something different to the mix, however wordy, will provide an additional tool to the existing ones and add another dimension to the way that you experience these amazing texts. Proverbs 4, Part B, verses 10 through 19. My son, respond to my message. Grasp my words. They are there for the taking. Receive the things that I say, and the years that you are alive will multiply, becoming both numerous and significant, and still continuing to expand. With my authoritative directions, I have aimed you down the life path, the conduct, route, and lifestyle of wisdom, which is a questioning curiosity that explores the possibilities, but also results in practical, constructive applications that then form the basis of skillful living. I have guided you straight to the well-traveled circuits that orbit an upward-aiming integrity and a straightforward, level approach, leading the way in those grooves for you to follow. That way, when you progress in your journey and depart from the places and the people that are part of your present leg of that journey, the rhythm of your strides will not be hindered by roadblocks. They will not be constricted or held back by them, and nor will they be shaped by them. And even when you run forward swiftly, you will not stumble and fall. You will not weaken, waver, and fail. Seize corrective instruction. Take ownership of constructive discipline and hold on tight with reinforced strength and a bold resolve. Don't lessen your efforts or relax your grip, only to eventually let go. Vigilantly guard her and protectively treasure her, because she is the lifeline of your life and the vitality of its aliveness. Don't even enter or bring yourself up close to the thoroughfare of criminals who are guilty of defiantly rejecting elevated integrity in favor of their own low aims and a hostile self-centeredness, while exemplifying a warped conscience, a corrupt character, and an inability to learn. Don't proceed down the path of those bad men. Don't progress in their harmful conduct or destructive lifestyle. Don't advance towards their catastrophic outcomes. Don't endorse them, authorize them, uphold them, or sustain them. Avoid that trajectory. Leave it alone. Don't try to cross it. Just completely bypass it. Decline that invitation and take a detour. Give it a wide berth, swerving away from it, and keep going until you are through and safely on the other side. Take this approach with them, because you need to understand that they cannot and do not even experience the sensation of rest or regularly fall asleep unless they inflict harm, unless they cause trouble and shatter something. Like an addict, they toss and turn, robbed, deprived, and plundered of their ability to slip into deep sleep cycles, unless they have first knocked someone else's legs out from under them and made them fall too, unless they overthrow and ruin somebody. They have this addictive need to tear things down because they consume wickedness, hostility, and twisted injustice as the nourishment that sustains them, battling in favor of destruction. And they drink the intoxicating wine of various violences, lies, cruel brutalities, and malicious thefts, all with the most unjust nature that it is possible to use to wrong others. That word is Hamas, but in its plural form. But the thoroughfares of those who take responsibility for embodying and conforming to his standards of integrity, those who pursue justice and charity as he defines it, are like a brilliant illumination growing and radiating like the breaking dawn, a light that progresses towards a destination and grows, shining brighter and brighter until the maximum clarity of its zenith, when the true and complete, prepared and secured day, or daylight in this case, is established. By comparison, those who are guilty of defiantly rejecting elevated integrity in favor of their own low aims and hostile self-centeredness, while exemplifying a warped conscience, a corrupt character, and an inability to learn, their journey and destination, their lifestyle and conduct or manner of living it, are darkness a thick, impenetrable darkness that is so profound that it obscures everything. So in this state, their experience is cut off and deprived of any sensory input. They do not see or know what makes them stumble and fall. They do not even understand what causes the things that happen to happen, much less perceive them ahead of time in order to avoid them. They are blind to cause and effect, hurtling towards the consequences in oblivion. I pray that whatever voice God might choose to give me in this world, He would also give me the words that I should use it for. These words have meaning for me, and if they had some meaning for you as well, then I am truly grateful that we have both been given a gift from above, and from each other. Have a good day out there, my friends.